Thank you, sir.
Any more questions?
What is the overall increase plans in 2,500? What is it going forward? Give us some sense of what is that you are getting out of India in terms of business, in terms of transactions, in terms of sales.
So, if you look at PayPal as as a worldwide entity, and Tushar shared some of the numbers with you in terms of the kind of number of millions of customers that we have around the world, the millions of merchants that we have around the world. We processed as a platform $578 billion in payments last year, and that continues to grow at a very, very billion, 578 billion. Global number, yes. So we don't break them down by geography as a company policy, and so we see in India, PayPal is definitely very, very invested for the long run because it's a wonderful canvas for us to paint all of our dreams when it comes to financial inclusion and democratization of access to finance services. Because as a country, there are several millions of unbanked and underbanked people, and we feel that as a company, PayPal can definitely serve that market. There are lots of micro and small and medium-sized businesses in the country that can benefit from having a global audience to whom they can sell their products and services, and that's one of the key areas of growth for us as a company in India for sure. So as we move forward, we recognize that India is a hotbed for fintech. There's tons of competition here, and we are continuously learning from the amazing innovation that happens in India, because the needs of India are very unique. They may not mirror exactly what a sophisticated customer, then we'll be able to take those innovations and apply them in other parts of the world as well. There are various things that we are focusing on right now, but primarily I would say that we are in a mode where we are learning a lot from the Indian ecosystem. It's heartening to see how well the government of India and the regulators are pushing the country in a way that incentivizes digital transactions over cash. So we support the government of India as well as the regulators in their attempts to make it a less cash society, and that's where most of our efforts are right now focused.
So democratization of payment systems going to set up any beyond enterprise services kind of person-to-person money transfer.
So we have a host of different areas where we can definitely look as the market evolves, as the demand comes in, and as regulation also changes to accommodate some of these needs, right? So as a platform, we have the power to enable several different kinds of experiences around the world. So if you look at PayPal, we are in over 200 markets around the world, and we are fully compliant in all of those markets, but we have different capabilities that are tailored to the needs of each individual market. So that's the power that we can bring to India, where as and when we see a demand coming up for a certain kind of financial service here, we can enable, and credit definitely is one of those areas where we have capabilities around the world. In fact, we lead several of those teams that are heavily involved in assessing risk, which is a very key aspect of being able to offer credit functionality. Right? So when I say democratization, what I mean is that the traditional banking system and the traditional banks have typically tended to take a one-size-fits-all methodology when it comes to assessing who is a good customer, who is a customer worthy of credit, being offered credit, for example. And PayPal, with a different model of being able to look at transaction flow, looking at how they're interacting with our systems, looking at how much volume of payments that a merchant is able to process through our platform, we have different ways in which we can assess credit worthiness, and therefore we can open up more opportunity for more people, which will then lead to them succeeding in life.
Would you exactly describe that the Indian market for PayPal is in very nascent, early, growth stage?
It is, I would say, nascent as well as growth. So we are enjoying very good growth here in India, and it's definitely in the nascent stage because, and it's the nascent stage not just for PayPal but for any payments company in India, because 85% or higher of all transactions in India actually happen through cash. So the challenge for us is to actually beat cash. That's our number one competitor. So moving us towards a less cash economy is part of our big plans for the future, and we are seeing tremendous growth and traction as we build out our services for India.
What exactly do you see is the challenge for still a cash economy?
There are a variety of reasons why cash is still very prevalent, not just in India but around the world. And definitely I'd invite Tushar to also share his views on this. I think as a race, humans have evolved over thousands of years from barter to Bitcoin, if you will, right? And most of it that journey has been cash. It's a learned behavior where cash has served our needs for a long time. It's just like the internet. The internet was actually created in 1969, but took a long time for it to actually take off, right? And infiltrate every aspect of our life today. Similarly, digital payments, I would say, as a domain, is in its infancy. It'll take several years for people to get used to it, to get educated about it, for companies to look at what is exactly needed by a customer and then build those, and then for regulation to actually come in and help that. So it's a complex cocktail of different circumstances that has to come together. And I think we are very much in its nascent stage, which is why cash is still enjoying a certain amount of prevalence, not just in India, but even in developed markets like Japan, where I visited a few months ago. Cash is heavily prevalent. And
I think it's still a very micro economy. It's a very hyper-local type of economy, right, where many people within the villages or within the small towns ultimately are able to get their goods and services that they need locally, and therefore cash is still a very prevalent. The other thing also is the technology enablement, right? As we think about the smartphone evolution, the infrastructure, those are all, and I think India is obviously moving at a very quick and fast rate from that perspective. But as you think about the technology and the technology enablement, that's also a factor as well. So if you add both the micro and very hyper-local economy-based activities that happen within India, in the various regions within India, and then also the technology evolution that's happening as well, the combination of the two will, as that starts to break apart and become much more of a global type of economy, much more of an internet-based economy, cross-border type of economy, you'll start to see much more movement away from cash to more towards electronics and electronic-based payment activity away from cash.
Don't you think that high entry barriers are one of the reasons, like fee, the kind of high levels of fee that you require to transact? Don't you think that is one of the reasons?
I'll go first.
Is it on the global benchmarks, or do you think that it's high in India?
No, I think it's no higher than the rest of the world. Definitely, it's similar to what we see in other parts of the world. And I think there are costs to using cash that are not apparent at the time of transaction, right? When, let's say, I'm buying something from a merchant at the point of sale using cash, you're not really incurring a cost to use the cash. But then there's a lot of cost, hidden cost in terms of securing the cash, transporting the cash, gaining access to huge amounts of cash that would be needed to actually run the business, which are not factored in at that time. But a business truly does feel that, right? And that's just what is legitimate. If you look at the other illegitimate uses of cash, there is a huge parallel economy that thrives on this. Whether it is trafficking or drug running or terrorist financing, all of these rely heavily on cash. So I think the case for cash to finally be vanquished is definitely very, very real, right? And the way you do it is through digital payments, because like with every other realm of human life today, technology is an enabler to figuring out how to fix the problems that exist. It's just that we are in a nascent stage where we are still trying to figure out what is the right model. As a, it's not just, I'm not talking about India alone, across the world. And if you look at various transaction models that are emerging, for example, in India, you have the Unified Payments Interface, which is seeing a dramatic uptick, right? And these are all ways in which a combination of the private sector and the public sector working together to look at what is truly needed for a customer and finding solutions that are safe, convenient, and inexpensive will be the magic that will finally allow cash to slowly start ramping down and for digital payments to keep going up.
Yeah, I think the cost-based question really comes down to what is the actual infrastructure or the cost to support a customer, right? If you think about, for example, our Zoom remittance business. One of the reasons why we're able to offer some of the lowest FX and ultimately transport rates is there's no physical brick or mortar type of business. There are no banks, there are no physical locations in which we own those locations, right? We ultimately will send remittance locations to money transfer type of locations where, Western Union or leverage other third-party partners. So we don't actually have a cost barrier to entry. And so I think as you think about the cost component, it really becomes more of what is the infrastructure and the cost to serve a customer that you really have to manage and maintain. And I think the fact that we've always grown up in a digital economy and how we ultimately perform our business, there is no physical or cost to serve question for us because we don't have some of those cost or barrier challenges.
Since you say India is a nascent market and also you see a lot of opportunities, so do you have any plans to come out with India specific product or payment solution?
So, like with every other market that we serve,
India is not different.
No. PayPal's philosophy is deep discovery, which is in context. So, if you look at how we are approaching the India market and the product development for the India market, it involves actually going and talking to local customers, local merchants, observing local regulation, also observing local competition. So there is no one-size-fits-all kind of an approach that will truly succeed in the world of today because most customers do expect a high level of personalization that is relevant to the context that they transact and lead their daily lives in. So we are also very committed to that as a philosophy across the globe. It's not just in India but across the globe. We build products that are essentially ways in which we can fulfill the needs of the customer in context, but the best of those approaches we can take back and apply it to the global platform as well. And I can give you a very good example. So in India we have two-factor authentication where at the time of conducting a transaction, you not only have to know the credit card number and the CVV that is associated with the number, you also have to key in a one-time password that gets delivered to some other device that you carry, right? Either it's a mobile OTP or you have to have a verified by Visa or MasterCard secure password. And that capability was needed for PayPal to transact in India because India is a market where two factors of authentication are mandated by the regulator. Not in any other country in the world. We didn't see that anywhere else, right? So we had to build that capability which was specifically for India, but now we have applied it to the global PayPal platform where any other country that needs this capability can use it right away. And for example, in Europe now we are seeing more and more need for two-factor authentication, and thanks to the work that was done in India, it's readily available for Europe also to take on. So we see that similar innovations will be done in the country and then applied to the global context so that other countries can also use it if it's relevant to them. And similarly, we will be happy to borrow innovation that's happening for PayPal in other countries and apply it to India as well.
Yes, I think we also see in this market there's a big pay after delivery market, right? Where in traditional, most of the markets we deal with, customers pay at the time of the transaction. But in India, there's very much
cash on delivery,
cash on delivery approach. And so I think one of the reasons why we're uniquely positioned to potentially offer that here in India is because we have a unique buyer and seller protection program where buyers and sellers are both protected and should there be a potential dispute, and ultimately we help facilitate that dispute process. But I think to your point, we are looking at the discovery of what is important to the Indian market and what is important to both the merchant and consumer in India to provide the most relevant products for that market specifically, and therefore those capabilities can then make sense to Germany and others where it's very much a similar pay after delivery type of model as well.
It's a very key point that Tushar brings up. So if you look at the payment options that you have in India, you have a plethora of them. But as a company that provides protection for both the customers as the buyers as well as sellers, we are unique. You have 180 days. If you use PayPal for a transaction in India, you have 180 days to dispute it. For example, you order a blue shirt and you end up getting a red one. You say that, hey, this was significantly not as it was described, so I'm going to dispute the transaction. Or you might have some kind of buyer fraud happening which the seller wants to be protected against. This is a unique value proposition thanks to the work that Tushar's teams do, where we can stand behind both ends of our network. We are a two-sided network, and say that we'll protect both parties. And the reason we are able to build a sustainable and profitable business is because of the kind of data that we have and the kind of technology that we have.
So you keep the money in the escrow account for 1 year?
No, we don't.
You don't delay the
We don't have an escrow concept. No.
And also RBI is probably teaching for the fintech companies to set up their data centers in the
Yes.
Indian soil.
The data localization regulations, yes.
Are you doing that?
We are fully aware of it, and we as part of our operating setup here in India, we work with a lot of partners, and a lot of partners were issuing banks or the acquiring banks, and we are working with all of them with a proposal right now on how to enable this for India. In all the markets that we are prevalent, we operate in, our intent is to have a platform that is compliant across all those platforms. So we have the same approach to India, and all the laws of the land we will comply with.
Do you have any plans for a payment bank?
Plans for a payment bank? As of now, I'm not in a position to say anything about that. We don't have any publicly stated plans for any of that.
What about wallet services? Do you offer wallet services?
So we have a wallet right now that has two types of funding instruments that we support, a credit or a debit card. Right? We do not have the concept of a balance where you have to top up and actually store money in the wallet. We don't have that concept, and so far we haven't seen a need, especially with new models like UPI taking off in the country. I think we've been able to deliver value even without a balance.
Also, we see many fintech companies, the payment solution providers proposing RPA's two-factor authentication. Are you also working on that?
So your question is, just to clarify, a lot of fintechs seem to oppose the two factors of authentication. So I would not say that we are in that camp, right? So actually the nuance is slightly different. The intent behind the two factors of authentication is very real. You have systemic challenges in being able to ensure security, and so you need to protect your customer, and that's why the RBI has the two factors of authentication, and I fully believe that it's a very reasonable and well thought through solution for a very real problem that exists. As a customer, I can stand here and tell you that I truly appreciate that we do have that security. Now the question is that the only way of guaranteeing that security, right? The reason that is needed is because at the time of transaction, you need to be able to guarantee that it is the person with the right funding account who is actually doing the transaction. There may be a million other ways to guarantee the same thing. You may be able to mimic the same effects of the two-factor authentication and guarantee that security in different ways that are solved through technology. The idea should be to deliver a win-win where the buyer has the least amount of friction, because every time you put in that OTP, it is a friction, and thanks to the networks and the challenges that we have with physical infrastructure, sometimes it is frustrating. You may not get that OTP delivered to your phone, or by the time you get it delivered to the phone, the transaction time's out. So that friction causes pain both for the customer as well as for the seller, right? If there is a way to solve this through technology where you can guarantee the security while eliminating the friction, then that's the best one for the customer, and that's the camp that we are in, where customer value with the safest and most secure payment option, that should be the intent that we should all be looking at.
Which are those ways?
So multiple new ones that are emerging, none that we can say that we are ready to adopt right now, but with technology moving forward, there are some interesting companies interesting startups in the domain that are beginning to look at ways in which, for example, if you look at your smartphone, which is something that all of us carry, right? The way you carry the smartphone, the pressure you exert when you key in information into the smartphone, there are about 150 factors that can be implicitly gleaned from just you holding the smartphone and interacting with it. Now, if you could marry that into your security algorithm, then there could be ways in which you can eliminate the step of actually keying an OTP, right? If you can guarantee that it is the person who they say they are, then there could be multiple ways, and that's just one that I'm talking about. There's tons of innovation. This is the holy grail of security, if you will, and we are keenly watching the space.
Till such time, two-factor authentication.
Yes.
I think we close the floor for questions, but Swastik will take you around the office and then you can proceed for lunch.
And let me say that we are very grateful to have
హైదరాబాద్లో ఐటీ సెక్టర్కి ఈరోజు సుదినము, ఈరోజు పేపాల్ లాంటి చాలా పెద్ద అంతర్జాతీయ సంస్థ హైదరాబాద్లో అడుగు పెడతా ఉంది. వాళ్ళు ఇక్కడ టెక్నాలజీ డెవలప్మెంట్ కేంద్రం ఏర్పాటు చేస్తూ ఉన్నారు. సో మొట్టమొదటిగా నేను పేపాల్ ప్రతినిధులందరికీ మన తెలంగాణ ప్రభుత్వం తరఫున హార్దిక అభినందన తెలియపరుస్తున్నాను. పేపాల్ ఒక 20 సంవత్సరాల క్రితం ఏర్పడిన యుఎస్లో ఏర్పడిన ఇది ఒక సంస్థ. ఈరోజు ఈ 20 సంవత్సరాల పరిధిలో సుమారు $150 బిలియన్ కంపెనీగా వాళ్ళు ఎదిగిపోయింది. ముఖ్యంగా ఈరోజు మన భారతదేశంలో మనము ఈ డిజిటల్ వాలెట్స్ని చూస్తూ ఉంటాము. పేటిఎం, మోబిక్విక్, ఫ్రీచార్జ్, వాళ్ళు అందరూ పేపాల్ మోడల్ని అనుసరిస్తూ ఉన్నారు. సో పేపాల్ ఈరోజు అంతర్జాతీయ స్థాయిలో ఈ డిజిటల్ పేమెంట్స్ రంగంలో ఒక లీడర్ సంస్థగా ఉంది. డిజిటల్ మాధ్యమం ద్వారా ఎట్లా ఆర్థిక లావాదేవీలు పూర్తి చేయాలి, ఈ పని అంతా అక్కడి నుంచి మొదలైంది. గత కొన్ని సంవత్సరాల నుంచి వాళ్ళు భారతదేశానికి వచ్చారు. వాళ్ళు చెన్నైలో, బెంగళూరులో వాళ్ళు కేంద్రం పెట్టారు. కానీ మనందరికీ తెలుసు గత 5 సంవత్సరాల నుంచి హైదరాబాద్ కూడా ఐటీ రంగంలో ఒక చాలా బలమైన కేంద్రంగా తయారైంది. సో హైదరాబాద్ బలాన్ని చూసి వాళ్ళు ఇక్కడ కూడా సెంటర్ పెట్టుకోవడానికి సుముఖత చూపిస్తున్నారు. అండ్ ఈరోజు ఒక 100 మంది స్టాఫ్ మెంబర్స్తో వాళ్ళు ఇక్కడ ఈ సంస్థని మొదలు పెట్టారు. పేపాల్ హైదరాబాద్కి రావడం వల్ల మనకు కూడా కొన్ని వాటి వల్ల కొన్ని ఉపయోగాలు కలగవచ్చు. ఉదాహరణకి తెలంగాణకి చెందిన చాలామంది ప్రజలు ఇతర దేశాల్లో పనిచేస్తున్నారు. గల్ఫ్ దేశాల్లో లక్షాది మంది తెలంగాణకి చెందిన వాళ్ళు ఉన్నారు. చాలామందికి వాళ్ళ కుటుంబానికి, వాళ్ళ ఇంటికి ఈ డబ్బు మన సరఫరా చేసే అవసరం పడుతూ ఉంటుంది. పేపాల్ మాధ్యమంగా అది చాలా సులభంగా చేయవచ్చు. అదేవిధంగా తెలంగాణకి చెందిన చాలామంది ఎంఎస్ఎంఈస్ ఈరోజు ఎక్స్పోర్ట్ రంగంలో ఉత్సాహం చూపిస్తున్నారు, ఆసక్తి చూపిస్తున్నారు. కానీ గత కొన్ని రోజుల క్రితం నేను ఒక సదస్సులో కొంతమంది ఎక్స్పోర్టర్స్తో కలుస్తూ ఉంటే ఈ ఫారెన్ కరెన్సీలో పేమెంట్ పొందడం వాళ్ళకి ఇబ్బందికరంగా ఉన్నట్టుగా చెప్పారు. సో అట్లాంటి సమస్యలు కూడా పేపాల్ మాధ్యమం ద్వారా చాలా సులభంగా వాటిని అతిక్రమించుకోవచ్చు. అదేవిధంగా మన అందరికీ తెలుసు గత కొన్ని సంవత్సరాల నుంచి ఫిన్టెక్ అంటే స్టార్టప్స్ ప్రపంచాన్ని చూస్తే స్టార్టప్ ప్రపంచంలో ఫిన్టెక్కి చాలా ప్రాధాన్యత పెరిగింది. అండ్ మన పేపాల్ కూడా ఫిన్టెక్కి చాలా చేయూత ఇస్తూ ఉంటారు. ఇక్కడే హైదరాబాద్ సెంటర్లో కూడా వాళ్ళు ఒక చిన్న ఇంక్యుబేటర్ స్థాపించి పెట్టి ఉన్నారు. సో హైదరాబాద్లో ఉన్నటువంటి ఫిన్టెక్ స్టార్టప్స్కి కూడా పేపాల్ నుంచి మంచి గైడెన్స్ రావడము, సహాయం రావడం, అది కూడా రాబోయే రోజుల్లో జరిగే అవకాశం ఉంది. సో పేపాల్ ఈ రూపంలో హైదరాబాద్లో రావడం వివిధ ప్రకారం ఇది చాలా హర్షణీయ విషయం. అండ్ భవిష్యత్తులో కూడా వాళ్ళ పెరుగుదల హైదరాబాద్లో, తెలంగాణలో చాలా మంచిగా జరగాలి అని నేను ఆశిస్తున్నాను.
థ్యాంక్ యూ. అంత అర్థమవుతుంది నాకు, లేకుంటే తెలుగు మాట్లాడడానికి వచ్చేలేదు, అంత బాగా వచ్చేలేదు. సో ఇంగ్లీష్లోనే మాట్లాడతాను నేను. Thank you very much, Mr. Ranjan, and so eloquently stated, and thankfully I understand Telugu, so I could understand every word of what you said. It's a great honor and a privilege for us as part of PayPal to be in Hyderabad. As Mr. Ranjan mentioned, this is a third center for us after Chennai and Bangalore. But definitely this is a sunrise location for us. We see Hyderabad as a city with great potential. It's a cosmopolitan city, it's a young city, it's a city where the diaspora is all over the world. There are lots of Telugu people around the world, and we see this as a great opportunity to attract some of the best talent around the world back to Hyderabad. And we see this as a location that is truly going to add value to PayPal globally for years to come. So PayPal as a company, as Mr. Ranjan mentioned, was the original fintech company. We started the wallet when digital wallets were not even a thing that people talked about back in 1998-99. When PayPal was founded, it was a very unique and innovative concept. And look at the way the world has evolved today, where we cannot even count on two hands the number of fintech startups that are there in barely 5-kilometer vicinity here, let alone around the country. And I feel a lot of pride that PayPal was the original fintech company And I think we are definitely committed to the Indian ecosystem. We see India as an emerging market, as a very important market for us, both from a business perspective as well as from a talent perspective. And we are certainly here for the long haul. And I see Hyderabad as a location reaping very, very big benefits for us, thanks to the amazing talent that you have here, as well as the great IT infrastructure that you have here. And most importantly, you have mature, forward-looking bureaucrats like Mr. Ranjan, who are here to help the ecosystem grow. So I'm sure with their able guidance and leadership, there will be a lot of different companies that will benefit from the local Hyderabad ecosystem. And we certainly intend to be not just beneficiaries, but also contributors in a very active way through our efforts with the incubator, as well as all the different things that we hope to do to engage with the local ecosystem. So we are very excited to be part of Hyderabad, and we look forward to having more and more announcements of various ways in which we are going to contribute to the ecosystem and the company to succeed globally. And thank you very much for such a warm welcome from the city.
You are starting a company in Telangana state.
Yeah.
So are you looking to start in Andhra also? Because it's a newly formed state.
Right. I think, so the question is around Telangana today, what about Andhra next? See, when we started in Chennai, we didn't have any plans of opening anymore. We started Bangalore, now in Hyderabad. The future is definitely something that, as it unfolds, we might have multiple plans, and right now we don't have any plans concrete today, but it all depends on what's right for the customer and what's right for the shareholders. So as long as these two aspects find a good fit, why not? Maybe there is a future for PayPal in other locations outside of Chennai, Bangalore and Hyderabad. Yes.
The next thing is, are you encouraging the youngsters, when the new engineering students are coming up, are you
Yes.
recruiting them?
Absolutely. Recruiting what we call as recent college graduates right out of college, offering them internships and full-time opportunities in PayPal is a huge part of our hiring strategy. We recruit from the best of the best universities in India around different locations, and Hyderabad, for example, BITS Hyderabad is also a very important school for us to hire from. And we find that the recent college grads, when they come in, the kind of energy, the kind of technological acumen, the affinity for new technology, open source technology that they come with is unmatched. So the energy that they bring is something that we totally enjoy, and we definitely will continue to hire from colleges very actively around India. And that's something that I can tell you right now as a key part of our talent strategy. Sorry? Yeah, PayPal only available. How about local languages?
How do you reach to the rural people who are in villages?
Very good question. So the question is around local languages and how we plan to support them. So as with anything, when you start building a product, you have to start somewhere, and you need to slowly, iteratively build those capabilities. So we have a market segmentation where we are going after a certain set of the Indian population first, which is largely urban, largely what we call as global Indians, well-traveled, well-exposed to global brands. We are able to first serve their needs. But then as we build out our products in India, especially with our core focus on financial inclusion, definitely it's going to be important for us to reach the masses, not just in the urban areas of the tier 1 and tier 2 cities, but also in rural areas in India. It's a long game. Now, this is something that's not going to take 1 or 2 years. It's going to take a long time to do. And as our product evolves, we are 100% obsessed with customers. So we want to serve customer needs as and when we see them, and we want to make sure that we exist as a company to serve the customers. So if the local vernacular support is important for a customer to experience, then that is definitely something that we will enable when our products get there, for sure. Yeah. Thank you.